Guys, welcome to the channel. Sunny here. We're back with another global lab. This week it was not on Friday, it was postponed until today, Monday the 18th. So we are taking a look at the global lab patch, and there's a lot of great stuff in this one. If you want to see the full discussion, we cover it normally on Fridays, but otherwise here on my stream at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. I'll drop a link to the VOD in the description. I will also have a link to Black Desert Foundry with all of the patch notes where we're going to cover now and talk about. So you can check it there as well. Go and bookmark Black Desert Foundry, amazing page. I use it all the time. Also, as you can see, we're recording this live, so if you want to be here, then stop by the stream. Right, so first things first. Let's do a quick overview of the things, and then we'll cover them and go into them, and there is some great ones. So War of the Roses is the 300 versus 300 new game mode they're adding. There's a lot of info about this one here. And in this patch note, they're also announcing that on Friday, the 22nd, which we will do, we'll cover the Global Lab on Friday and we'll watch the video. They're putting out a developer game video explaining this more. So that means it's very close getting the 300 versus 300. So on Friday, we'll watch that. There's some ocean content update, RBF changes, some small changes to Gathering Mini, it's basically nothing. Often Ted changes, the world boss, monster. Big news here for the new region. We got the 2 grind spots, they're talking about the new stuff in this one. We got some Node War C changes, UI improvements, filler stuff, and then class changes. And this one right here, you're gonna want to stick around for that one. It's a big one, and I'll be talking about something that I'll probably have to make a full YouTube video about. It's how damage reduction works in PvE. Also in PvP, but more relevant for PvE. And why this here is one of the most well done nerfs I've probably ever seen in all my 7 years of video. I'm excited for this one here and seeing how it plays out, and it's super well done. So we'll talk a lot about that because there's going to be some math and some info about this, how the game actually functions, but we'll cover that at the end. So first off, War of the Roses. Let's take a look here. It's the 300 versus 300 large scale PvP. There is some information. It's being every 2 weeks, which was the original plan. This right here is just basically about like how you sign up for it and everything. The actual war is going to take place on Sundays from 18 to 8, from 6 to 8 p.m., depending on your time zone, obviously. But this should be like same time if you're an EU or an NA, right? So for me, it's going to be terrible since I'm EU playing on NA. They also changed their original plans of how to queue up for it. So originally, it was the 2 castle holders that was guaranteed having 100 players in. And then each side had another 200 players that was people signing up. They changed that. So the way we get these commander guilds, they're called, for each side is during the 2 weeks period, you acquire points in guilds after winning T4, Node Wars, and sieges and stuff like that. There's still a bit of the translations about which states gives how many points, but basically you acquire points winning Node Wars and sieges in the 2 weeks. And the 2 guilds that has the most total points will be able to become the commander guilds and guarantee a 100-man spot in the big 300 versus 300. Now, the other 200 spots are going to be filled up with what's called the 3rd core. And you can apply for this. Everybody can do it. There is a requirement. You need 680 gear score or more to be able to queue up. And it costs you 500 million silver to queue up. You get that back if you're not selected, but playing in the mode is currently going to cost you 500 million silver. So you basically queue up for this and you get selected at random to be part of the 3rd core with 200 on each side. There's also going to be there's more details here about how the commanding guild can send forces and what they can see. It's going to be fog of war on the map, which is really cool. So you like the commanding guilds will have command posts where they can look and see where your team is, but they can only see like what they can see on the map. So you can't see the enemy forces. You can send commands out and everything. So it sounds really, really fun as long as it doesn't lag too much. Now there's another new information about this, which I think is kind of exciting. They are making these sanctuaries. There are going to be 20 sanctuaries that you can control and take over. and they will give you different buffs. The neutral sanctuary will give you ancient Charons and elephant units, and it looks like you might be able to ride these, and some protection buffs. Now, the way these sanctuaries work is that think Alterac Valley, old school Alterac Valley in World of Warcraft. You go to a spot, there is PvE monsters in that spot. You kill them, and you can then take over the node, and now you get it, and your monsters spawn. So if the enemy want to take it over, they have to defeat the PvE monsters, which, depending on the side, is Oregon, Ronin, Narc, Badass Warriors, Shamans, and Bowmen, Olin, Urutuka, Tora Berserker, Spearmen, all that stuff. So you have to defeat these to then, so there's like PvE element as well. You have to defeat them so you can control the node, and now you get your mobs to spawn. So it's a bit different than the initial reveal they did on this, but I think it's going to work out pretty well. I'm excited to see this, and on Friday the 22nd we will get a developer video where they're going to go way more in depth and obviously show some stuff from it as well, so looking forward to that. Right, there's also like some few other small stuff like with how it works, and the teams can get like a commander. You can select a commander, they can send missions out, and he can have 3 helpers, etc, etc. You can check the details there, but that's the gist of it. Next up is ocean content changes. The TLDR is they're reducing the materials needed to make the boats by half. The vessel registration for a Ephira sailboat and the frigate is cut in half straight up. And there's a few other changes here with like the finding the ferry keeper and like some quality of life stuff. RBF changes, they are changing the invulnerability or the protection buff that you get at the start from 16 seconds to 8 seconds, so fast classes can't run from your base to the enemy base and fight there. And they're also making it auto-apply. This right here is for the old mode, it's not Valencia, it's a typo. For the ruins, they are changing it so if you're standing in the watchtower, you cannot attack the enemies, right? So in the ancient ruins, you stand up on a watchtower and you jump down and you stay in the watchtower, right? And then you go out into the fight. A lot of the times, enemies will just be in there if they're winning, and they'll just literally stand in the watchtower, small room, Sorks iframing around, catching you, CCing you. And now they're doing it so in there, enemies cannot attack. So you get to get out of there more safely and can hopefully play the game a bit, even if your team is losing. On the Valencia spot, they are changing the spawn location of one of the sites from here to here, and on the gathering minigame they are basically making it faster and easier to collect all 3. So I believe before you had to have like 3 perfect and a 4th, so they're basically just making it easier with only the sap gathering. Fix the herb gathering PA, Jesus Christ. And for Off and Tet, they are removing the phase where you need the matchlock to shoot the boss. They are just basically removing it and speeding up the fight. And they are increasing the drop rate of all the different items, like double drop chance of getting feathers, to compensate for not being able to then loot the second boss, right? You get 2 times of loots, one from the warden and then one from the shield thingy. It looks like they're removing that and then compensating 2.5 times of these drops and everything. So often Tet should be a lot easier, and you don't need a matchlock anymore. Right, some monster changes. Yeah, it's just some quest stuff. Don't care about that. And then they're adding this. I believe this is the stamina crystal that you can use to make the blue stamina crystals, which some classes actually want to use. And there's some things in the game you can use them for, like speed running some of the bosses. Having stacking stamina is sort of a cheese move. So these are actually very nice. They're borderline impossible to get. So they're adding them to the Trader Cemetery in Maori Cave. Next up, and this is a big one, Ulukita quest is being added. So the Ulululukita zone is the new zone we got added with Chongred Ruins and City of the Dead. 2 grind spots. They already announced there are going to be 2 more grind spots. The only thing we know for that is that the Aetos shoes, aka Fallen Guard boots, will be part of one of the 2 additional grind spots coming. Only thing we know. Now this right here says that the 3rd region is coming soon. So that's the 3rd grind spot that's going to be coming soon. Will this be the one with the boots? We don't know. But they are announcing it's coming soon. It was planned for this or next month. And then they're updating a quest for it, which is basically they're going to be a pre-request. You can do like some pre-requests, and there'll be a quest line with this update as well. So that's what they're talking about here. It's a bit of lore if you want to look into that. Yeah, who knows, maybe so you've probably seen in chat some people talking about Necromancer. I have a short video explaining that PA has confirmed that they are working on making a Necromancer video. Doesn't mean it's coming. They might abandon it, but they are looking at a Necromancer class. This right here has lore tied to Necromancy and Necromancer classes, so that's why some people are full on copium that maybe the Necromancer class is the class that's coming at the end of the year. But they have announced they're trying to put out a new class for BDO. We'll see. Next up is some notable seed changes. Basically, when you drop the flag, you can now destroy your own flag, so you can replace it and move it. You don't have to wait for an enemy team to kill it or get allies to do it. You can destroy your own flags now. That's the only change. Very nice, very good. Now this one here is a big one. This is for siege only. They are removing enemies spawning an inner and outer gate. So currently, if you destroy the gates in a castle wall, the attacking team can spawn at the gate that you destroy. They are removing that from the game. So now the defending team, the castle defender, they can still spawn at the gates, but you cannot, as an attacker, spawn at gates anymore. Now, originally, the gate spawning was added because they were trying to push 1 versus 1ing in castles, and that never really happened. So they're rolling that back, it seems, which also means 1 versus 1ing a castle is going to be pretty much impossible now. Unless you're completely outgearing the opponent or something like that, which, again, a lot of castles are equalized gear. It's going to be borderline impossible to 1 versus 1 a castle with this change. However, they are talking about other things, right, with elephants and horses and everything. There's easier ways of destroying gates and getting into castles now, but this is a pretty huge change. It also means that in X versus X sieges, you can actually do stuff if you're in the castle. Like if you lose a gate and you move out of the castle, try to do something, the enemy team can just spawn there and rush your base instantly. So yeah, the gate will actually function as a gate now. So it's an interesting change. For X versus X, I think this is probably fine. For 1 versus 1, I don't see that happening anymore. But maybe new things are coming. They are adding like the elephant stuff and the chariots. They've talked about tanks for siege in the past. Maybe they're gonna go back to like having more siege fights and siege mechanics outside of just killing each other. So we'll see in the future with that. Another nice quality of life. To mount a 2-seater, you have to click Shift R now, so you can't accidentally mount a 2-seater when you're trying to mount your own horse or repairing your notable sieges and all that. So that is absolutely amazing. Nice little quality of life. Then there's some changes to the Cadre elephants with attack distance and range being increased on the attacks. We got some UI improvements on the enhancing windows. It's not a big deal. Well, it is kind of a big deal for the people that use this. It does highlight the most used percentage for enhancing. So newer players or people that are unfamiliar with enhancing has sort of like get nudged in the right direction. Well, assuming all the players use the right direction as well. Also, they're adding some coloring when you're searching on your workers, which is nice. And they are making the newbie bag opened automatically. We had some other nice changes here. The secret songs are going to stack. It's an item that drops in Secret Abyss underwater grind spot, and they're used to make the Crocodile Ocean gear. You get them quite a bit, and they stack now. Nice little something. We got some bug fixes, which is a big deal. And now for classes, they are making Command Together, which is an ability you can a guild ability that you can use to summon all your guild members to your location as a GM or officer. They're making that a 4-hour cooldown instead of an 11-hour cooldown. It's very nice. It's like the power of this ability has dwindled over time with all the new changes, right? More people have the compasses, the telescopes, and everything. So it's less of a powerful ability. So I think it's fine reducing it to 4 hours. I think that's great. So you can use it a bit more throughout the day for different things. Oh, there's a world boss spawning or guild GVG, and then still have it ready for Siege or Node War in the evening. So nice change. Now we get into the big stuff, the class changes, and there's a lot of really good stuff here. I would say all of the changes are looking good, and I know some people are going to be mad that their class didn't get buffs, like me thinking Awakening Warrior got buffed, and then it turned out that Warrior is just the Google's translate of Woosa, so it was Awakening Woosa getting PvE buff. Anyway, right? There are different some classes that would deserve some more PvE buffs or whatever, but all of these are looking good. Some might not even be enough, but it's a step in the right direction. I don't think there's any change here that's bad. The only thing that's like, it sucks it wasn't some other classes, but maybe next week, right? Maybe on Friday, guys, your class and my class finally gets those buffs. So Succession Sork is getting some PvE buffs. I think throughout all of these, there is not a single real PvP buff other than some spillover, like a cooldown reduction, like you see here. All the damage changes to abilities are staying the same PvP damage, but getting PvE damage increases. So keep that in mind. There's no PvP damage increases on any of these changes throughout the patch notes. So we got some changes here to Sork. The gist of it is some cooldown reduction, some better linkage with skills, so they flow better. They removed a bound on an ability that is ruining PvP combos, and they added a 9% evasion threat on turnback slash, so you can use it more easily. The class already has it. It's just going to allow you for different combos and easier usage in PvE and PvP. And then we have some pretty solid damage increases here across the board. And we have a PvP nerf to make sure it's the same damage in PvP. On all of these, you can check the numbers and the details, but it's some solid damage increases here. We also have a cooldown reduction from 16 to 14 seconds and 23 to 16 on I don't know which one these are, like translations, probably there's different versions of them, right? And better linkage and flowing. So should be actually helping quite a bit in the more stationary DPS, like Daycare Thornwood and all that. It still obviously has the issue of pack-to-pack movement and all that, but step in the right direction. Awakening is getting improvement on WF after Nightmare skills. Right. Awakening Woosa, pretty substantial damage increases here. Again, pure PvE. I guess technically this will get some PvP damage increase, right? But in general, it's just PvE damage. They're changing this one right here, which is basically a spinner used for like a buffing. It does add some more damage to it, so if you use it in PvP, it does deal a bit more damage, but they're making it faster and easier to cancel, so you can use it really quick for buffing. Dash Slash, pretty substantial damage increases, really juiced, 100% crit as well, and a PvP damage nerf to accompany it. In general, just like nice damage increases by, let me see, the numbers were between like 20 and 50% damage increases on different abilities here for PvE only for Awakening Woosa, sorry. Valkyrie is getting some quality of life stuff where you don't collide on Hasty. So Hasty is not going to get caught on everything all the time. And also the Lancia Lusty is going to link better with the Instar, the jump to 100%. Just basically some ironing out of clunkiness. Striker, and I know this is where a lot of people have been getting emotional. Striker, Awakened Striker, is in need of PvE buffs. It is completely power crept, even though it got buffed not that long ago. It's the Servant, and sure, there's a lot of classes that would need it more, but it's not like this class doesn't deserve PvE buffs. All the PvP damage is the same, by the way. So it's getting substantial PvE damage increases here. Pretty much across the board. I think we were talking 20 to 35% damage increases on these abilities. You can check the link for the details. And I do believe there's like some better linkage on some skills as well. They're fixing some bugs with the pets on Succession Nova. That's about it. All of these seems to be like slight buffs by fixing these bugs, like a pet applying bound instead of a KD. Pits being stuck and stuff like that. So nice quality of life, bug fixes, which should be helpful as well. Arcane Succession, this is an interesting one. I'll try to keep this a short one. We spent a lot of time going through all the abilities and looking at this on the stream. So we'll take a quick look. The gist of it is big PvE damage increases on abilities, slight PvP damage nerf on the ironed up abilities, and they added an iron generation on Shift E. So on Shift E, which is this ability right here, it's going to give you 3 iron whenever you hit somebody with it with the first attack. So that's really nice. It's going to open up for some comboing and things. And then they made some damage adjustments, right? They also had some bug fixes on the slow. And they added like increased PvP damage reduction. So that's Shift E, losing a lot of damage in PvP. And you have this one here, which is the one I just showed. Huge damage increases. If you do the full animation, it's a 50% damage increase in PvE. And if you are big brain and you just cancel the second hit, which will still give you the full big burst in the beginning, plus the irons, it's a crazy damage increase. It is absolutely insane. It's over double damage if you're doing the canceling on the second part. But even if you do the second hit, which is the low hit, it's still 50% more than the previous. And it now gives you 3 irons. It's, however, completely gutted for damage in PvP, right? So it's going to be less damage in PvP, I believe, with these numbers. Even best case is going to be the same, but not really. So I think this is a very, very nice one. You can still use it for super armor damage in PvP scenarios. Now also giving you 3 irons. So you can maintain irons a bit better in a fight. However, your iron abilities also deal a bit less damage to compensate. So it's a more stable damage you do on Arcane and PvP now, instead of having this insane burst. And then when you're out of irons, you are just a wet noodle and you run away and don't do anything. You can maintain the damage a bit better, but then you do a bit less crazy burst in the initial engagement. So I like that change a lot. Next up here, we got some huge damage increases in PvE, as you can see here, but all of them are nerfed in PvP, and I do believe the total value comes out to a slight PvP nerf on these ironed up abilities, and that's the same across the board on these. Now, Sock Woosa. Sock Woosa got nerfed today, and in my opinion, this is one of the most precise and well done nerfs I've probably ever seen PA do. It's a very, very simple one, and it's a PvE only one, but it's very impactful in the right ways. So what they did was this. Whenever you spawn the clouds on Sock Woosa, it gives you a -15 magic DR debuff. The only thing they did was change it to, instead of -15 magic, it is now going to be all DR -20. Now, that sounds like a buff, but it's a huge nerf. You already have -20 DR in the kit on Cloud Craver, so you have that up all the time normally. Now it's just permanently there, so you can change the combo bit if you want to. However, the interesting thing about these debuffs is they stack. So minus magic DR stacks with all DR, which stacks with your add-ons. So the truth of this is Woosa lost 15 DR threat. However, it's PvE only. In PvP, it will still be magic DR. So there is no change in PvP. But the TLDR is Sock Woosa lost 15 DR threat in PvE. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but DR threats are way more potent than a lot of people know and understand them to be. So tune in. But yeah, that was it for this week's patch notes. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all on Friday when we get the new global lab and the video. Make it weeks, we'll probably talk about other weeks. Peace.